Trooper Cody and Steve, and we're making this video for Boer War Day. Boer War Day each year is the Sunday immediately prior to the 31st of May. The 31st of May 1902 was when the Boer War ended, and the Boer War went from 1899 to 1902. And Australia was heavily involved, and I'm going to talk to you about the horses. 35,000 horses went from Australia to South Africa for the Boer War. Of the 35,000, 25,000 died primarily of disease and associated illness, sickness, disease from horse ailments, as well as sadly being shot and killed. Of the remaining 10,000, none came home at all, much like the Middle East. None came home. At that time of the Boer War, there were no vets at all attached to military units, to the Australian military units. There were also no vet inspections before the horses were sent to South Africa. They were just gathered up around the country and just sent off without anyone checking on their condition. At that time, the late 1800s and at the time of the Boer War, the Japanese were massively expanding their army. As such, they came to Australia and bought 10,000 Australian horses, and all they wanted was top quality horses, top quality breeding horses, and top quality stallions. Can you imagine, 120 years ago, much smaller country, Japan took 10,000 of our top horses? Not only that, the Indian Army was a huge operation in India, obviously, and they bought Australian horses as well, and they only wanted top quality. And a great example here is during the Boer War, the Indian Army were prepared to pay £30 for a good horse to take to India, while the military forces in Australia had a top budget of £13. So can you imagine, anyone who had a horse that wanted to sell it would sell it to the Indian Army or the Japanese, and it was pretty much not the best steed that then went to South Africa. Worst even for that is the poor horses got to South Africa, no vets, no inspections, and no acclimatisation. They were taken from a sheltered environment of Australia, quarantine I'm talking about, to Africa with all manner of horrible animal diseases, and they were just sent straight to the troops. That was why attrition from disease was so hard. 27 vets did go to the Boer War from Australia. Not all of them were qualified, and the whole qualifications of vets in that era is so complex it warrants its own video. But let's just say not all of the 27 were qualified as vets. They went at their own expense and their own choice as volunteers, which is a pretty marvellous thing for those blokes to do. And of the 27, sadly, during the Boer War, 7 of those vets were killed in action. I've told you 25,000 Australian horses died. How about I tell you how many horses died altogether in the Boer War? 326,000 horses and 51,000 mules died in the Boer War. The loss of horse was so horrendous, particularly to the British Army, it resulted in, shortly after the Boer War, a royal commission in the UK about the dreadful, shocking loss of horse life in the Boer War. Thank goodness for the Royal Commission. One of the things that came from the Royal Commission is the British Army had to form vet units and have vets attached to an actual vet division, and then vets attached to each regiment, And thank goodness that happened, because that then, after 1901, we get federation, we get an Australian Army, and thank God we get vets set up as part of the Australian Army. So really, horrendous Boer War for the horses, but the good news is that resulted in far better care and health and welfare of the horses immediately after the Boer War, right the way through, and then for World War I. You can see Cody here is really not too chuffed hearing about all those deaths. Please subscribe to the channel.